is Gary Don Thacker and The Lord of the Rings. It's a franchise that literally everyone knows and has hopefully seen. It is one of the best trilogy ever made. Even after 25 years, it's just as praised and celebrated as it was when it was originally released in 2001. And then we got these three, only one of which was good. So it's pretty safe to say that other Middle-earth projects outside of The Lord of the Rings haven't been very good. So you think that Warner Bros. Should hopefully learn their lesson, would be happy with the millions of merchandise and the re-releasing of the trilogy in theaters. But as we all know, Hollywood is never gonna do that. So instead we have potentially dozens of Middle-earth films potentially in development. So to get you caught up to speed about all that you need to know about the upcoming Middle-earth films, let's get into it. First up on the map, we have there this year in November 11th to be exact, which is the season premiere of Season 3 of The Rings of Power. Now, yes, I know no one's looking forward to this, myself included, but Season 2 was an improvement over Season 1, so maybe Season 3 will be even better. Maybe even borderline good? I highly doubt it, but let's hope for the best. But that's gonna start that actually might have chance of being good, and that's the next Middle-earth film. The Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum, releasing December 17th, 1927, which is being directed by Gollum himself, Andy Serkis. The film will take place during the Fellowship of the Ring, specifically when Gandalf leaves Frodo with the ring.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
He goes off on a side quest, and then returns to Frodo.
Is it secret? Is it safe?
Now what exactly happens during this side quest? Well, at this point in the story, Gandalf is pretty sure the ring Bilbo had was indeed the One Ring. But just to make sure, he goes and reads the ancient texts. Now as for the film, that's it. In most, that's probably a couple of months. But in the Fellowship of the Ring book, it's 17 years. And Gandalf does more than just look through the ancient texts, and he actually goes to Aragorn. Of course, at the time, still just known as a mere ranger, Strider.
This is no mere ranger.
He requires him to go on a quest to find Gollum, as that will be a pretty concrete way to confirm whether the ring Bilbo had, which now Frodo has, is truly the One Ring. Eventually, Aragorn captures Gollum, he brings him to the Elves of Mirkwood, which we see in the second Hobbit movie, and Gandalf interrogates him and gets his answer. And then he goes back to Frodo and the story goes on as it does in the film. Now like I said, in film continuity, I think it's gonna be more than a couple months. But I do think they could still make Aragorn's hunt for Gollum canon in the films. They could just really speed it up. But sure, that won't just be the entire film. There's gonna be enough substance for an entire film in just that alone, which it seems the people working on this film thought of. As Peter Jackson just said recently, that the film will take a Joker-inspired look into the character of Gollum, which means this will be a very Gollum-centric film. And while yes, of course, it does sound interesting, I'm actually taking a deep look at my favorite Lord of the Rings character, but me and a lot of other fans were hoping that Aragorn, seemingly another major character, would have an even split of character depth and development between Gollum. Cause let me tell you, adapting Aragorn's backstory into film would be great. But it looks more likely than not this will be a just Gollum-centric film. But maybe if we knew some of the cast, we have a better idea of what this film truly is. Well, luckily we got a cast announcement a few weeks ago at CinemaCon. As for right now, our cast for The Hunt for Gollum are Andy Serkis as Gollum and Smeagol, Ian McKellen as Gandalf, Kate Winslet as Marigold, Jamie Dornan as Strider, Leo Woodall as Halvard, Lee Pace as Thranduil, and Elijah Wood as Frodo Baggins. Now, of course, characters like Gollum, Gandalf, Strider, and even Frodo aren't huge surprises. Those are pretty much expected. I will say seriously that Aragorn is being recasted. It tells me that Aragorn is going to have a major role in this film. Major enough to where it probably wasn't financially feasible enough to just de-age Viggo Mortensen. Not like how they de-aged Orlando Bloom as Legolas in his 39 minutes of screen time he has in the second and third Hobbit movies. Now, a character return that makes sense but I wasn't really expecting was Lee Pace as Thranduil, the king of the Mirkwood Elves and Legolas' father, from the second and third Hobbit films. As mentioned, his character is in the story, so it makes sense why he's here. I'm just interested to see how prominent his role will ultimately be. But now we have the new original characters. Kate Winslet's Marigold, and Leah Woodall's Halvard. These are completely original characters that are not in the books, but do have names that are similar to book characters, which just seems unnecessarily complicated. Now we do know that Leah Woodall is playing a Ranger of the North. There are several in the books, so I assume for this story they're giving Aragorn a companion for this quest. But we do not know who Kate Winslet's Marigold is. Most people are saying either Gollum's grandmother, which is mentioned in the first Hobbit movie,
20 eggs. Grandmother taught us to suck.
or Aragorn's mother. But as we concluded, this is looking to be a Gollum-centric film, so it's probably more likely that this is Gollum's grandmother. We don't know a lot about the character of Gollum's grandmother, so we don't really have much expectations with this character. Now that's one thing I do think is interesting. I think it's a bit odd being Legolas' father, but not Legolas himself. Now granted, this probably isn't the entire cast, and we'll probably get more eventually. So maybe Legolas is important enough of a character to be one of the first cast reveals. Or maybe he's being saved as a surprise for the trailer of the final film. Overall, I'm optimistically hesitant for the hunt for Gollum. I can see it's either being pretty nice, or just lackluster. But of course, it's not the only Middle-earth film that is on the way. There's no release date for it yet, but we got confirmed through a YouTube video that another Middle-earth film, this one spearheaded by Stephen Colbert, massive Middle-earth fan.
The Balrogs did not follow Melkor to Thangorodrim. They followed him to Utumno and then later to his fortress of Angbad that was guarded by the 3 mountains of Thangorodrim. Yes!
The Lord of the Rings, Shadow of the Past. This would have the 7 chapters in the Fellowship of the Ring book, which are not included in the film, which follows the hobbits as they leave the Shire and before they meet Aragorn. And then the story will have a framing device which will follow the hobbits after Return of the King, those being Sam, Merry, and Pippin, looking back on this adventure with Frodo. It also involves Sam's daughter, Marigold, which is a canon character in the books. So I imagine you'll probably go back and forth between the hobbits in the past and the hobbits in the future. And yes, by definition, this is technically a sequel to Lord of the Rings. I hate saying that, but that is technically what it is. Now, as someone who has read the book, these chapters are good, but I'm not really sure they can actually make a good film. Through these chapters, they run into the Barrow-wights, which were shown in Season 2 of Rings of Power, and they run into a fan favorite character, Tom Bombadil, which was also in Season 2 of Rings of Power. And that's all that really happens. So this one's going to need a lot of filler from the future hobbits. So at least as we have it right now, I don't have high hopes for this. I think this is a loose idea for a film, and I don't think it's going to stick the landing. I would love to be proven wrong, and hopefully I am, but I'm not holding out hope for Shadow of the Past. And now we've finally arrived at our last piece of news, which is that Peter Jackson is in talks to adapt the other Middle-earth books outside of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Now, this could be almost anything, because there are over 20 Middle-earth books. Those ranging from highly detailed stories to just brief glimpses of stories. But of course, the first thing most people thought of when they heard this news was the Silmarillion, which if you don't know is pretty much the Bible equivalent to Middle-earth. This book spans literal eons. There are hundreds of stories in this one book. Rings of Power is currently adapting a part of this book. Granted, it's being adapted horribly, but it's still doing it. And again, even outside the Silmarillion, there are over 20 other books. I would not completely getting more films like The War of the Rohirrim, where every film is just another standalone story of the world of Middle-earth. So is it the possibility of this happening? Yeah, totally. Go for it. There are so many great stories in these books I would love to see get told. I think if these films were actually advertised, unlike The War of the Rohirrim, they could be very successful. And also, an open world Lord of the Rings RPG was just announced. So it really seems like we're a Lord of the Rings renaissance. And I hope it all turns out for the best. But let me know in the comments below, which of these projects are you most excited for? Rings of Power Season 3, The Hunt for Gollum, Shadow of the Past, or the potentially dozens upon dozens of one-off films? Also, if you enjoyed this film, just like and subscribing. Bye guys for now, bye, it's your Thacker.